Welcome to the Boston Art Podcast,
Boston's premier art podcast,
where we talk art, culture, and philosophy.
My name is Theodore Earthworms.
And I am Brian Huntress.
Welcome to the show.
Hello?
Hello.
Hey, how's it going? This is Brian and Theo.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. Say the names again really quick.
Brian?
And Theo.
Ryan and Theo. Okay. Hello, guys. This is Ryan Dempsey here.
What up? How's it going? We've been checking out your art. We're really excited to talk to you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, hell yeah, man. You've been at it for a long time, huh?
Yes, I've been at it for a very long time. I started painting when I was about 5. And I've just been... That's been my life.
Yeah. How did you start painting when you were 5? Was it just like sponge painting, or did someone put a brush in your hands? How did that begin?
Yeah, so my grandma dabbled in watercolor, and so I would always like to draw and stuff, and then she just got me my first little set of paint, and from there it went.
That's really cool. What is your preferred medium now? Is it acrylic most part?
Yeah, lately has been actually incorporating some printmaking into my painting as well, and I throw a lot of stuff on there. There'll be oil pastel, there'll be some drawings interwoven, so it's you can call it mixed medium, but acrylic is the base of most of my paintings.
Awesome. What is the subject matter and stuff that you like working with the most?
You said subject matter?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I paint from my everyday experiences. So so I'm in Italy right now. I'm in Venice.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it's been amazing. So my art's really rooted in where I am at that moment. So I'll be painting, in my hometown in Arizona, and then fly back out to Boston for school when the semester starts, and things will do a total shift. My style stays consistent, obviously, but everything's really rooted in imagery and just everyday experiences that I see around me where I am at that time. So it's very geographical, I guess you could say.
So tell us about Arizona. How did you so you grew up there? You were born in Arizona. Was it a desert town, or what part?
What's that?
What part of Arizona?
I'm from Chandler. Yeah, Chandler, Arizona, which is the suburb of Phoenix.
Okay. So was it the kind of Arizona town where it's just 3 buildings and a freight train line, or was it a regular town?
Yeah, so about 20 years ago, it kind of was.
Gotcha.
As I've grown up living there, it's became more and more. There's apartments coming up, and so it's actually a pretty big city now. But back when I was younger, it was a lot of farmland and just plain desert and cows and etc. Yeah.
Yeah, I've drove through. I went on a long road trip a long time ago, and I drove through Arizona, and I remember just feeling there were times where I felt like I was in a pioneer town, and there were times where I felt like I was on Mars, and times where I felt like I was in a regular city.
Yeah, that about sums it up pretty well.
Interesting. And so how old are you now?
I'm 20 years old. I'll be 21 in April.
Damn,
man.
Congrats.
Happy birthday.
Hell yeah, dude.
Oh, thanks.
So that means you must have moved into Boston fairly recently, or started going to school in Boston fairly recently, last couple of years?
Yeah, so I came to Boston in 2020 in the midst of COVID for my freshman year at Boston University.
Oh, wow.
I've been loving it since. Yeah.
What made you choose BU?
So BU has an amazing painting program. It's one of the top ones. And the East Coast always kind of had a draw on me. I wanted to go as far away as I could from my home, and that was kind of a logical solution. So then when I visited Boston, I just kind of fell in love with it. It's everything about it is so different from where I'm from, and it was just such a beautiful city to me. And then that paired with just how wonderful of a program BU was, it made sense, and I got great financial aid, and I got a really good scholarship for my art. So financially it all worked out for me, and I was lucky enough to make the flight across the country. So
That's exciting. How crazy was it to start your freshman year in 2020?
Yeah, that was definitely something. So I felt very lucky. As a studio arts major, almost all of my classes were still in person because you can't do studio classes on Zoom, So I was going into the classes pretty much every day. They were like reduced size, and we still have the 6 feet thing going on. But most of my friends who aren't painting majors, they were just entirely on their Zoom on their laptops. And I don't know if I could have done that. I don't have that kind of focus. I need to be hands on. So I was very lucky in that sense.
Yeah, could you tell us about some of your professors in your first year there? Like, what do you think the teaching style was like? Were you like learning a lot of realism, still life? Like, how did that go?
Yeah, so for the first 2 years, it's the foundational classes. So like drawing 1, drawing 2, painting 1, painting 2. There's a sculpture requirement. So it's very much academic in that sense with like the live figure and the still life. Pretty much realism and like understanding just really painting from life is what's kind of pushed there. And then so I'm a junior now, so this was the first year where we're kind of able to really just do our own thing. It's not so much assignment based. So I got my own studio this year as a junior, and then next year as a senior I'll have a slightly bigger one.
That's exciting.
And so yeah, it's pretty awesome. 5th floor, right on Com Ave, overlooking the Charles. So I can't really complain. So yeah, so this past year's been pretty rad in that sense. I've just kind of been able to do my own thing. No assignments really. It's just you make sure you're getting your hours in the studio, and then you'll have critiques throughout. Yeah.
So it sounds like to me, like painting since you were so young and learning from your grandmother, I get the feeling, so my background, I come from a really, really big family, and we're all really tight knit, and I'm kind of guessing it seems like you might have a similar situation.
Yeah, so I've been super lucky with the support system I've had within my family. So my mom's like the reason I was having shows at 8 years old. She was helping me. Like I went to the local frozen yogurt store, and she was like, we were like, can we put some art up and invite some friends? And then, from there, it actually ended up, I was on the news at 8 years old. And so I had all this, I was in the papers and the magazines and stuff. So my mom really has just been kind of unbelievable in that sense of just helping me kind of put myself out there, just like from such a young age. And just being so supportive of following my passion. I know a lot of people personally, like in my program, whose parents aren't even supportive that they're going to college for painting. And I've never experienced anything like that, which is just super fortunate. And then my grandparents, I've gotten to paint with my grandma growing up, and we just spent all that time together. And then on the other side, my grandpa's a professional photographer. So I've been able to travel with him to some beautiful places. So I've just been very, very lucky with what I've been given in that sense. Yeah.
So it seems like from a really young age, one thing you were definitely taught was how to see, something beautiful, or how to kind of appreciate, the aesthetics in something,
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what my current practice is really rooted in. It's about just my unique perspective on the world and finding these beautiful moments and beautiful things that can just go totally overlooked. You'll pass it without even looking twice. But since I'm memorializing it on a canvas, you're forced to kind of stop and stare and just slow down the world a little bit and get to see things through my eyes. So yeah, that was something that came from my childhood for sure. Just being able to appreciate the beauty of the world and everything like that. Yeah.
I feel a lot of like positivity and, kind of just light coming from like, what you're saying and your experience and stuff. We often interview a lot of people who find Boston to be, a really negative place, or a place with like a lot of like anger and that kind of like East Coast terrible attitude a lot of people talk about. How How has that contrast been for you? Like coming from like, you know, this really like nurturing and awesome, you know, I'm sure you've had your bag of hammers just like everybody else, but like, you know, to come from this background of, you know, like this great family, like giving you these wonderful gifts, you know, to like come to a new place like Boston.
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand what you're saying, but from my side of things in Boston, I haven't really experienced that because I'm in the collective of college students who are all artists and just a lot of positive energy. So I'm not really surrounded with that on a day to day, but I totally understand what you're saying. And for me, like Boston has just been so like overwhelmingly beautiful in that sense. My town in Arizona, it's like cookie cutter, like all the houses look the same and all that. So like I live in Alston right now, and like the houses are like run down, but they're like beautiful houses, and I'm just like I feel like I'm surrounded with beauty here in a much different sense, but also in a much more real sense than I was growing up in suburban Arizona.
Yeah,
that's a really refreshing perspective to hear, because I feel like it is true. Like we talk to a lot of people that are so negative about the city, but I remember my first apartment in Boston was also in Alston, and I was so in love with the space. Like people talk about it being like Rat City and like Alston Christmas, like furniture on the curb all the time, but there's something really fun about that and like community oriented in a way when you're surrounded by people that are in your age group, they're doing what you do, and you can kind of vibe off of those like same wavelength, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And I've been, since I've gotten to school in Boston, I've been kind of working on a body of work that really encapsulates that. I actually have, it's funny you said those two phrases, because I have two separate paintings one's called Alston Christmas and one's called Rat City. But I've really been kind of bringing that perspective and trying to grasp what I've been given here in Boston. And so it's a body of work. I named it 617 Tea Party because it's also about Alston and Brookline, not just Boston. And so there's a lot of portraiture of just like people I've met along the way. And there's like a lot of architectural elements with like I mentioned, the houses and stuff. So I built up this really, really special body of work that I'm very proud of. And I'm hoping to get it up somewhere. This is my senior year. So like my little last hurrah in Boston, I want to have, I'm looking to put up this really awesome show, and just get to share it with everyone before I leave, because you never know when I'm going to be back. So I want to have like this kind of going away moment, in that sense, where I'm able to share what I've been working on with the community of Boston.
So you plan to return to Arizona?
I don't plan to return to Arizona. What I'm thinking right now, I mean, nothing's for certain, but I'm probably going to take a year or two post-grad before I head to, I'm going to get my master's eventually, before I head to get my master's.
Wow.
And just kind of, get some more experience under my belt, you know, build my body up a little bit, and maybe do some residencies or apprenticeship, stuff like that. And I think where I'll be heading for that moment of my little time will be California.
Oh, hell yeah.
California is where my grandparents live, and it's my favorite place in the world. All my art's really rooted in that like Southern California style of living, and just the beauty of that. So I think that's where I'll be heading, and then who knows where I'm going to grad school, but that's what's next for me. Yeah.
We talked to an artist recently named Brianna C. Martins, and she went to the New York Academy of Art, and I feel like your story is almost weirdly similar to hers in a way, where I could totally see you studying at a nice place like that. East Coast again, if you've ever heard of that program.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the top programs are on the East Coast, so it's definitely a big possibility that I'll be back out here.
Why do you think that is?
With the graduation,
are there really amazing art schools on the West Coast? I've never even heard of art schools out there, or really thought about that.
I mean, number-wise, comparatively, absolutely not. Like East Coast definitely has the numbers, but there's a couple select ones. Like UCLA is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. I would definitely see myself very happy there for grad school, but the chances of the East Coast are much higher for that sense.
Yeah.
Interesting. How have you found the cold? Does it get cold as fuck in Arizona, just like it does here?
Oh my God, no. So I had never seen snowfall before I came to Boston.
Oh, wow.
It is in the winter, the coldest it'll get is 50 degrees, and then in the summer, an average day is 117. So everyone's got a pool. Doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, you have to have a pool.
Interesting.
And that's pretty much the only place you can be in the summer. You either have to be inside your house in the AC, go to a movie theater, or hop in your pool. You can't be walking around.
Yeah.
Wow. Have you been able to connect with, so I know you've been a part of this really amazing community of students at Boston University and stuff, but have you how has it been experiencing, or have you gotten to hang around with other artists local to the city or people who grew up in Boston?
Yeah, so I've been able to make a lot of connections in that sense, but I've found that it's very much lacking in that sense. I haven't found there to be some of these wonderful art collectives that I'll see out in Southern California or in New York and stuff. So definitely a little disappointing in that sense. But that being said, I've met some amazing people in Boston, and one of my friends in particular, his name's Dan Galvin. He's a full-on Boston man, and he really has this dream of kind of creating that for the city, bringing together small artists and just kind of having this collective that doesn't really exist successfully right now in Boston. There's been a couple little goes at it that I've seen, but it's kind of been done the wrong way, in my opinion. And Dan has a very specific vision, and he's got a ton of connections, and he's a really ambitious man with great execution in everything that he does. So I'm really faithful that he'll kind of be able to throw this thing together in the coming years, and I look forward to being a part of it with him.
Wow.
It's exciting stuff, yeah.
What do you think it is that's made it so that there aren't really any art collectives and stuff in Boston, and the way they haven't been run in the past? I wonder why that's happened.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell you I don't know for sure, but I feel even the gallery space in Boston is a little bit representative of that. You've got your galleries on Newbury Street, but there's not a lot of these. There's so many wonderful, talented college students in this one town, and you're not really seeing smaller shows and stuff like that with these emerging artists. It's just kind of the same old stuff you'll see on Newbury, and there's just not a lot of hype around the art community here, because when you're just people are just thinking New York. If I'm gonna go see some art, I'm gonna go to New York, and that's kind of what it is right now. So it's definitely something that needs to be addressed and kind of worked on for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because that's something that we've talked to a lot of different artists about, and trying to get to the bottom of maybe why that is. And I think something that Boston has going on that's a little bit difficult is, since the pandemic, I think I've heard that on average, it's almost cheaper to live in New York than it is to live in Boston right now, which is insane. So I think, so a lot of smaller galleries or local galleries that would maybe represent somebody that's emerging artist or mid-career don't have the money to stay afloat for longer than a couple of seasons, which is kind of a shame.
Yeah, and that makes so much sense. It is a shame, but that totally checks out. Yeah.
I'd love to hear you talk more too about talking about emerging artists coming out of places like Boston University. What kind of new perspectives are you seeing come out of that school, either from transplants or even locals that you know?
How do you mean that? Can you
Well, I guess I think it's a really interesting notion, or kind of a fresh idea, that there would be, all of these people coming into a place as, prestigious and high level as Boston University, bringing new, young artists in Boston University, bringing new art and new life into the city. I feel like that isn't really a conversation a lot of people are having.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, so like, what's really cool about Boston University in particular is like everyone who is there for painting like still had to kind of get in on that same sense of rigor academically. So it's not only a lot of talented painters, it's a lot of really smart painters.
Interesting.
And so like the conversation and like the critiques and stuff really reflect that. Like there's some really intellectual stuff going on that sometimes I'm like, I get lost sometimes, but like it's really cool. It's cool to be a part of that. But yeah, I don't really know what direction to answer that question. I'm kind of grasping here.
Oh no, that's totally chill. Like I'm also curious too. That I think that's a cool distinction to make between like, you know, really really great painters and really really smart painters.
Yeah, I mean it definitely goes hand in hand, but like sometimes you can kind of just see that in the work. You're like you have your initial reaction to it, and then you're staring at it for a little longer, and you're like, oh shit, that's pretty. I get it now because it's got these layers, and that's kind of what makes art great to me is something that you can kind of go back to and realize a whole other thing about, or just see this different side to it. And that definitely comes along with being a smart painter.
How do you think people reach that point? Because I feel like, you know, there's a lot of people, you know, who really love to make art and go hard at it, but maybe feel like they themselves aren't reaching that level of nuance. So I'm kind of wondering, like, what do you think about that struggle?
I mean, I think, like, for me, I found that has just kind of really came with experience. Like, the more I paint, the more I start to get these reads on my painting from other people that it just goes more in depth and more in depth, because I'm starting to, like, every time you do a painting, you learn something new. And every painting is an accumulation of every painting you've made before that. So the more you get behind your belt and the more you're just drawing and just like truly creating art, then that's just going to happen naturally.
That's so interesting. That relates to something that we were talking about on another recent episode, where we were talking about the idea of studying yourself and how it's really important to keep reviewing the work that you've already made and turning over the same concepts instead of just trying to say something new every time, because you're going to continuously refine it. It's a nice thing to hear you talking about that.
Yeah. So like in my work, I started recycling a lot of these motifs. So like I'll have like a symbol or like a screen print that I'm putting on a painting, and it's kind of coming back, reoccurring over and over again. And as it does that, it can take on a whole new meaning, but it develops its kind of own personality. It develops its own like language of poetics, that like, so you could see a painting of mine, but if you see the whole context, if you see the body of work that came before that, like that one symbol will have a whole story that's just been developed, and like that one symbol is just one part of the painting. So that's how you can bring in all these different stories. And I'm definitely absolutely a fan of reworking the same material, because when you rework something, it's just going to come out differently and just bring out this different side.
Yeah, that's really wonderful too, because then you're building a consistent visual language in your body of work, like making it recognizable in a way that is yours. That's cool. That's a fun thing to think about. It's a fun project to sink your teeth into.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and you mentioned before too that something that really that conversation with other artists or other people around you really, you know, gave a lot of complexity to what you were doing. Could you tell us about the role conversation plays in the development of these concepts and techniques?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, like, critique days are something I always look forward to. I get really excited when I know that I have a crit coming up the next week, and like we'll have visiting guest critiquers too come in along with the students and the professors. And so just getting that feedback, it's really cool, because you get to see how these different minds read this work that you just sat in front of it for 2 weeks and you're thinking about it in this way, and then you hang it up on the wall and other people start talking about it and they just took it in a totally different direction. So you're learning about your own work in a way that you could never have came to, because every person has their own individual experiences and stuff. So like, you're not going to be able to realize these things about your own work because, you know, you didn't see that. But now they point it out, and you're like, oh, I totally get that. And then like, then you'll have 5 voices chime in the same thing, and you're like, wow, I just totally was not knowing that this is how it's going to be perceived publicly, because it's a small sample size, obviously, but usually you can get a good sense of how the world is going to react to a piece just by getting one of those critiques. Yeah.
That's a really powerful thing too, because I was talking about this recently, that I did a show recently and I was in a room with a bunch of people and watching them look at my piece, and then they thought whatever they thought and they walked away, and I had no idea what they were thinking, and it was so strange to not have that discourse. Yeah.
Wow.
That's a really useful tool to be able to get those other insights.
Yeah, and in terms of developing concepts and shit, and like, you know, theory of behind your work, have you I guess how is your experience with writing about your art? Like, have you had to be writing essays or artist statements, or like how is that the development of that theory been with writing?
Yeah, so I mean, writing is a very powerful tool when it comes to that sense. I always challenge myself to write about a piece afterwards, because when you're trying to put into words what's in your head, you're going to realize some different things, and you're going to be forced to explain it to yourself in ways that you could have just jumped to conclusions in your head. So I think it's a very powerful tool. There's not much of that really required in like our actual academic setting. There's not much of that really, but I challenge myself to do that individually, and then I always do have a good time with it when I'm like going to put up a show and I'm writing the blurbs for some pieces. I'm just like, oh, this is a lot of fun, because you're finding out stuff that you just kind of brush over really easily when you're forced to put it into pen, you know.
Yeah, and for me, like I was literally fucking stupid, like, and before I think like I was able to develop those communication skills and writing and stuff, like I journal extensively, and I'm always writing, and I've been doing that for a number of years, and when I look back on some of my first journals, I was literally brain dead, I think, with a lot of what I was putting down, and like it's funny to see that development just in, you know, having a bird's eye view of your own concepts, and to be able to watch those concepts grow, similar to what you were saying with the recycling of imagery and motifs and stuff. So yeah, I definitely I relate a lot to that. But
it's cool to hear too, like to touch on what you were saying about like smart painters and like talented painters and smart painters, and how there can be an overlap there. Like something that I think is a really undervalued skill set is writing about painting. Like being able to make a case for your pieces and explain what you're trying to say in a way that is eloquent is a completely different skill set, but a really useful one as a support for being technically skilled at painting as well.
It totally is. And I know some absolutely phenomenal painters who just could not write about their work for shit, because like, you know, not everyone is well spoken in that sense. Some people are just well painted.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see who can do what.
That's a good point. And, you know, it's funny because we were talking to a friend last night about a similar conversation where we were talking about how a lot of art movements and a lot of art theory isn't even developed by artists. It's developed by journalists, you know, and people writing about artists and shows and shit that they're seeing in their communities, you know, and putting in books and whatnot.
Well, the thing that's interesting about that too is that like in the social media era, it's not like it was in like the 50s or whatever, where you would have to wait for a critic to figure you out. You can write your own show description, or you can write your own press kit and send it out and get it seen by people and create your own traction. Like, is it like a Lil Nas X that like made his own like a ton of ghost accounts on TikTok or like Instagram or something, and just got people talking about his shit because people thought they already were. Right. Like you can kind of do stuff like that now.
I think he's famously a social media wizard.
And I guess that's actually a pretty good transition, that whole writing conversation we were just having, into the world of social media and what that plays, what that role plays for artists right now. It's been very crazy, because the same way that written skill, I feel like that really translates to the skill of marketing in a way. Because if you're able to write about your work really well, then you're likely able to market it pretty well. And that's something that I've just found so many of my peers and so many really talented artists struggle with in that sense, because it is a really confusing thing. And I saw this little blurb the other day. Actually, it was like how to make it as an artist in 2023, and it was like learn how to be a cinematographer. Like, because like that's how people are doing. Like you got like pretty much you have to film. You've got to like film your process and throw it up on TikTok and just hope the algorithm works out for you. Like it's crazy what the current situation kind of looks like in that sense. It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, that's how we found you. You've had a few bangers on TikTok, I imagine, with your marketing stuff.
Yeah, I just this past January, early January, I had my first little art video on TikTok that blew up. It got 3 million views.
Oh hell yeah!
And it really just it was really awesome. And it really just made me realize like the power, the real power of social media in that sense. Because like my website blew up for about a week and a half, and I made more money in that week and a half than I had made in my entire life. So it was really wonderful, and it was such a small moment. It was like that whole 15 seconds of fame, Andy Warhol kind of thing. But it was really shocking. And luckily it happened right before I went abroad, so I was able to fulfill all these orders and stuff and then have some money for Europe, because I really didn't know how I was going to make it before that video.
Were you just going to send it and just go anyway?
Yeah, I was just going to maybe not eat or something.
Sleep on the street with stray dogs, maybe. Damn, so how, I feel like I have had I've been putting out content online and like playing that game and like trying to make shit for like 10 years, and it's like it's a completely new landscape. Like not even just every year, but it feels like every 6 months the social media landscape changes. Do you like, and yeah, and you mentioned before, and we find this as well, that there are so many artists that struggle with that, just having to make content and learn how to do this thing and that thing. And it's like, how do you find, as somebody who's found a bit of success with social media, like what do you, I don't know, like do you feel like it's just something you have to just click with, or is it something you're practicing or like studying, or is it just kind of intuition?
I mean, yeah, no, I mean, a lot of it is really just learning from experience. Like I've been putting stuff out online since I was 12, and I never really got the flow of it. And like, I guess I'm kind of just starting to understand what is going to possibly work. But like, even now, like I have no idea what's going on. And it's just a pain in the ass. Like, I don't want to be like filming myself paint. I just want to be painting. And I don't want to be editing these videos and hoping that the TikTok algorithm shows it to some people. I just want to do my stuff, but like it's kind of, if I need to make money off this, and this is the career that I'm choosing, so like it's kind of something that's a bit of a requirement. And like luckily I have found a little bit of that success, and I guess I'm getting better at it in that sense. So yeah, it's just about failing 1,000 times.
Yeah, it's literally just like throwing shit at the wall, like you have no idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I've had many different experimental paths. Oh my God. Oh, the call dropped.
Uh-oh.
Oh, so, all right. So a little bit of a technical difficulty in the middle of my clunky sentence there. We'll try to get Ryan back on the line. Oh, he's calling back now. Is that him?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Yo.
Oh, sorry. I said call failed for a second, but I don't know what happened.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no problem. Just a connection issue. But yeah, I was just saying, like, it's just like, you go through so many different techniques. Like, I just post the exact same thing over and over again, pretty much, on TikTok. And that's, like, been okay, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, that was funny because I forget exactly what video it was that you posted, but I remember I was looking through it and I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I'm like, oh, this fucking kid's in Boston. We got to figure out what's going on here, because that's like something. What's up?
What's that? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, because that's like a kind of beat that we've been on, is like we try to know about everything happening, in the city.
We try.
So, Yeah.
Yeah, it was the video was about like my art journey, and like so starting from age 5, and then like that kind of little child prodigy stuff, and it just kind of showed like how my paintings changed over the years, and so people kind of found. I got a lot of comments that were just about how inspiring it was to see like that growth and just sticking with something and really following what you love. So the comments were really almost the most rewarding part about the whole thing. Obviously, the money was pretty awesome, but just seeing how many people it reached and kind of resonated with was really special.
That's really cool. That sounds like a really inspiring experience for you too.
Yeah.
And something that I thought was really cool, that was really significant about that video and your story as well, is how successfully, like, it's like hold on, let me find my words here. I think it's cool how consistently you have found yourself, having your story told. Which is something that a lot of people struggle with, where they're trying to find people. A lot of people yearn for that moment where there's somebody who says, wow, like, what an amazing story. Like, I want to know everything about it. Or like, come on our show and tell us this thing. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, again and again, like people like looking to you and being like, this is like so cool what you've done. Tell us about it. And do you feel like that was just kind of happening by accident, or was it?
I mean, a lot of it has kind of happened by accident, I guess you could say. But I mean, it's really about how much I've kind of put myself out there. I had my little art shows and stuff when I was a kid and got some of that attention. But like through high school, when that all kind of faded, I was consistently doing these road shows and setting up my booth at 6 a.m. in the morning with my mom, just like really grinding it out, because I want to be able to share my stuff. And like that's one of my favorite parts about being an artist, is getting to share that perspective that I hold with people. And the more people that get to experience that, the happier I am, and the more proud I can really be about my work.
Mm. Could you tell us about your mom too? I'm curious too, because we actually just recorded an episode where we were talking about how people's family, the experience of their parents, influence the type of art they're able to make later in life. In the sense, so I'm kind of curious to get your take on, or like, what do you think it was about your mom's life or upbringing or outlook that led her to have that like, oh, like we should put Ryan's work up in this place, or, oh, we should, like, this would be really great for Ryan if we could, get the stuff out there. Like, how do you think that she found that?
Yeah. I called her my momager. As a joke. Someone told me that once, and I liked it.
That's awesome.
I love that.
But if you ever talk to her, she just goes like 1,000 miles per hour. I don't know how I could never do a day in her shoes. She's doing everything. She's crazy. She's truly just a crazy woman. I love her to death, but sometimes I'm just like, oh my gosh, we need to because I'm very slow paced. Like let's soak this in. Let's go with the flow. But like it's just like bam, 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 bam. So that's what's really been the sense of how she's been able to do all this for me. And like she had she's a real estate agent, but back in college she got a degree in marketing as well. So she really just knows how to talk to people, and she knows how to get what she wants, because she's just gonna go out there and do it. And so that's kind of the sense of how I was brought up into the art world, I guess.
That's fucking awesome, man. It's like so amazing to have like,
She's a badass.
Yeah, like especially to have like, your biggest fan and your biggest champion being, your parent, the person who loves you the most in the world.
No, yeah, it's been really special, because like I said, not a lot of people I know have had that, and then also just like that reassurance that I've had from that. Like she's had like friends come up to her, at the like wherever, and be like, so he's going to college for painting, and she's like, yeah, and they're like, how's he gonna make any money? Like there's been doubt from people who she's been close with, and she's dealt with that from the very beginning. Like even when I was 10 years old saying I'm gonna be a painter, like that you'd be surprised how quickly the negativity comes into the picture, and she's just always had the same response of, all I care about is that my son's doing what he loves and that he's happy. I don't care how it fucking works out. Yeah.
That's really interesting too, because I hear you saying that, like, through her lens. Is that something that you deal with a lot? Like, people making those comments to you, or like, does that faze you when you hear that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been some, for sure. Yeah, it's been something that I've dealt with from a surprisingly young age. Like being at these shows, like maybe 12 or 13 years old, and like people are saying, "Well, what are you gonna do for your actual job?" And I'm like, "Well, this is what I want to do for my actual job." And then they make a face, and it's usually the older people. Actually, it's always it's mostly the 60+ community, but it's occasionally like a Karen as well. So.
Yeah, no, I've resigned myself in this art life to know it. Like, it's just kind of an acceptance thing of being like, there's going to be a lot of people that think I'm a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
And I just don't care.
Same.
If I let every person that thinks I'm an idiot affect me and take me down, like, then I would have been done a long, long time ago.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You would go nowhere if you let that happen.
Well, the reason I asked that, though, is because it sounds like your mom has been, like, very bolstering for you against that, like, to have someone have that much faith in you and to help you kind of make that shit happen and to show you from a really young age, like, younger than most people are talking about marketing or, like, knowing how to put on a gallery show or even at a coffee shop. Like, that's a big deal. A lot of people don't do that until college or after college. So having that role model sounds like it was so helpful probably for you and your confidence as well.
Absolutely. I really have. I consider myself a very confident person, especially when it comes to my art, and I'm most certain that a lot of that is directly from my supportive network that I've had with her, especially.
That's awesome.
Now, I'm curious to know: do you feel like that's a mindset that you wake up every day and you try to maintain that, or do you feel like that's something that was built into your framework? Like, I'm curious to know, like, because there's a lot of people who don't have that, for one reason or another, and I'm wondering what your opinion is in the sense, like, do you think that I guess I'm kind of wondering, is it framework or is it everyday practice?
I don't know, because it wasn't something that I always had. I was a very nervous kid, and like even when I started college, I wasn't who I am today, but I wasn't going to go up to you and start that conversation and like kind of not brag about myself, but tell you what I'm actually about, which that's where I am now. Like I've kind of built that up, obviously with the supportive network. But I continue to work on that every day because I feel like confidence is everything in this profession.
I agree. Yeah, no, it's like, it's so hard because like, a lot of it is like just personal connections and just who you're friends with and like just who you know. Yeah. Not even in like a nefarious way, but a lot of it just comes down to like having that confidence to put yourself out there without being afraid that someone's gonna like just not like you or write you off or something. That's like I feel like it's almost less about like having crazy confidence in your art and just having confidence in just who you are and just, and people liking you and being friends with you and shit, because I definitely didn't have that for like my teenage years at all. Like I thought I was like a pariah and that like, I, would never have like friends, I just was like, I told myself I was a loser a lot more than anybody else did,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And that maybe that, that's probably a pretty common experience, for a lot of folks.
For sure.
So with all this being said, in terms of like, being on this, like this college grind and being in these crits and this educational setting, like, are you excited for the days where you will kind of just be cut loose and outside of those crit groups and outside of those conversations? Like, do you feel like that's going to be empowering, or do you feel like that's going to be like, I guess, how do you think that experience is going to be?
Yeah, I mean, I'm most definitely excited for it. But at the same time, I'm trying to soak this all up because I know once this is over, I'm totally going to miss like I literally live with my friends, and I go and see all these people every day. Like, it's going to be a lot more of a working on myself and all that, but I'm trying to soak it all up. But yes, I'm very excited to just be able to, like, fully do whatever my heart desires, and just kind of, like, make all these mistakes and just have all these experiences and fuck shit up, I guess. I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
So what kind of experience are you having? Like, are you like going out at night and like doing stupid shit and like running around on Comm Ave? Like, what's that look like?
I mean, I've definitely had my fair share of that, like, of course. But no, I'm a lot more tame these days, in my older age.
Yeah.
I really enjoy, I enjoy having conversation with, like, there's so many interesting people around me, here, and, who knows when I'm going to have that again. So, like, every Wednesdays I have a different group of people over to my apartment for some tea time, and we'll just, sit around my table and just talk for hours and maybe do some homework and just experiences like that where I love human connection.
Yeah, that's really nice.
How do you find the newer students coming in, like as a junior and like having been at BU for a long time? Like, what are the freshmen like?
It's funny to see that. It's like everyone's so nervous. It seems. I'm just like, guys, relax. We're in art school. Like, take a chill pill. Like, it's not that deep. Like, even here in Italy, there's a couple sophomores, and just like their mentality about everything. Like we have like a drawing assignment due, and they're like, oh my gosh. I'm like, guys, like, just slow down and like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's funny to see though.
Yeah.
I'm sure I was the same way.
You got to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Young. So you're in Italy for school right now. It's not like I imagine that you were on a trip. Are you like are you on a semester abroad right now?
I'm on a semester abroad. It's called BU in Venice, and it's
holy shit.
It's nine studio art kids. We have our own studios, and we're overlooking a canal. It's like literally unreal.
That's so awesome.
Wow.
It's
so
unreal.
Did you have to learn a little bit of Italian, or is all the classes in English? How's that going?
So we're all required to take an Italian class, like Italian 1. One of our classes, my sculpture class, the professor doesn't speak a lick of English, but we have a translator there with us. So
nice.
That's how that is. And then the rest of the professors are BU employed. So they all live here in Italy. They all are like Italian speaking, obviously, but they speak fine English for us. So there's like a little bit of balance. But yeah, this program. This was one of the main when you asked why it came to BU, I forgot to mention this because this was like a big draw for me, knowing that I was going to be able to have this opportunity, because it's been like otherworldly. It's crazy.
Oh wow! So is this trip something you've been waiting for since you applied?
Yeah, absolutely. Since before I applied, I was like, this is
that's awesome.
What I want to do. Yeah.
Have you continued the tea times with some of the students over in Italy?
Yeah, so like I was lucky enough. I didn't really know any of these people. I knew one guy going in, and there's 9 of us here. And it's just I was so pleasantly surprised with the company that I was in. We all got really close, and like we all live in the same little condo area. We're all like literally next door to each other, so we see each other every night. It's not a Wednesday thing; it's an everyday thing.
That's cool. That sounds like so much fun.
Yeah. What's the food like? Like, are you going to different restaurants all the time, or how's that going?
Oh yeah. It's unreal. It's just carbs on carbs on carbs. It's all so amazing. It's awesome.
That's what's up.
Wow. How and have you been meeting a lot of locals, or like are these people used to seeing like students from different countries hanging around, or like?
Yeah, so like in our kind of our housing is like very much like a student, because there's a lot of schools here, so it's students from everywhere. I've met like my next door neighbor is a Ukrainian refugee, and then there's all these Italians here, and then all these like it's everywhere. It's been so cool to see all these different perspectives in a way that I never really could have been able to do if I wasn't like literally here doing this.
And tell us about the canal too. Is there like motherfuckers on boats like standing on the boat rolling down
Yeah, I mean
the canal.
that's the way to get. There's no cars here at all.
Really?
It's all canal. So like I'll take the water taxi to class occasionally, if I don't feel like walking, and then like it's a love hate because like it's so beautiful, but then I walked like 40 minutes to the bar the other night, and it's 1 a.m. and I'm like, shit, I have to. All I want to do, the American in me just wants to Uber home so badly, but I can't.
Oh man.
How the fuck do people move there? Like, how do people move fucking couches to their new place or something? Like, what? Like, if there's no cars, what are they doing?
So, like, yeah, I mean, boats really the only way you're transporting something big like that. But I've seen people like rolling around like AC units, and like there's bridges literally every 10 feet, so they're just like hauling their wheeled little cart like up the bridge, like one step by step. It's like it looks terrible. It was like, and even when we first got off the plane here, they dropped us off and they're like, okay, you live 20 minutes away. Here's the address, and we all had our big ass checked bag and a carry on, and we're like my hands were literally bleeding carrying the thing up the stairs. It weighed like 80 pounds.
Oh my
and, like,
god!
every single bridge was just it was like the death walk.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you mentioned you went to the bar the other night. What's the nightlife like? Or like, you know, what's it like? I mean, walking through Venice at 1 a.m. a little drunk back to where you're staying. Like, what's the environment like?
It's pretty heavenly. So it's very quiet right now because it's not tourist season yet. So we're gonna be able to. It's gonna be cool because we're gonna be able to see both sides. We got here and there's no one, and then in a month it's gonna be absolutely fucking packed.
Wow.
So right now it's very dead. But in terms of nightlife, Venice is very, very chill because there's a lot of old people here. So like, and everything's like back to back to back. So like, there's not like clubs or anything. It's just like little bars. So if you want to go to the club, you hop on the water taxi to the mainland for 20 minutes, and then you can have that experience over there. But here it's just very, very laid back, very casual, and it's been really enjoyable. I like that a lot.
Wow, that sounds beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
So how long will you be there? Until May or so?
Yeah, I'm gonna be here like the whole semester. Like, so when BU ends in May, my program's gonna end here.
Oh, that's awesome. And then do you go back to Arizona for the summer?
No, I'm actually I'm gonna be living in Alston this summer. It'll be my first Boston summer, so I'm excited for that.
Oh, congrats!
And I'm gonna be doing an apprenticeship with a master printer in the area. I don't know if you know much about master printers, but there's like 77 or something in the world. It's like a specific qualification. So this guy, I got to see his studio and stuff, and I'm gonna be helping him print this edition for like a really big time British artist. So like he's doing like etching plates and stuff, and he has all his mechanics and all that. So I'll be helping him with that, and I'm really looking forward to it.
That's really exciting.
So was that a competitive apprenticeship to get into?
No, that was one of those random connections that was just straight up luck. Yeah.
Hell yeah! And how did so you mentioned being a mixed media artist, and you said printmaking is a part of that repertoire?
Yes, I recently got into it, but I've been having so much fun. I do etching. I do mostly etching in silk screen, and so like that idea of repeating motifs, being able to have like a physical matrix of like an etching or a screen print is really lending itself towards that in my work. So I'm able to literally put the same thing on a piece over and over again, and so just figuring out how. Because I'm kind of doing something that you don't really see in the sense that I'm printing etching onto canvases and painting with the etching. Like you don't really see a lot of cross pollination between printmaking and painting because painters love their expression and love to just be loose like that, and printmakers are so like uptight, like photographer-esque, like everything has to be clean. So like everything, and it's a very traditional field still. Like everything, there's so much uniformity and like a standard that is held by everyone. So just kind of blending these two worlds has been really exciting for me, and I feel like it's been really innovative in a sense. I feel like I'm doing something that almost like no one else is doing. So just having that outlet to express like real originality, which is it's so hard to find. Like you struggle with. I mean, everyone struggles with it, but just feeling like you're doing something like truly unique, it's almost impossible to feel like that anymore because everything's so saturated,
Yeah, that sounds so exciting. And you were saying too that it was an organic connection. How did you wind up in that position?
Yeah, so it was my roommate. His dad has like 30 cousins, and he told me, I met his dad, and he was like, yeah, one of my cousins is a master printer. Like, I've only met him like twice, but like, blah blah blah. I could set you guys up. And this guy wasn't like an artist at all. His dad wasn't. So like, I wasn't really fully believing him, because he was like, yeah, I think he does like T-shirts and stuff. So I'm like, okay, he's either a master printer or he's like a graphic screen printer at a T-shirt shop. And it turns out this guy's crazy legit. Like, he's so big time. And I got to meet him right before I left Boston, and it was a really cool experience. And I'm looking forward to the summer for sure.
That's so rad. What a cool thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, just saying yes to any opportunity that pops up is a way to find stuff like that. That's really cool.
Yep.
And do you find that your fellow, students and your network at BU and stuff, do you find that these are often, other artists with like such unique backgrounds from different places and like different upbringings and stuff, or how has that been, like just like vibing with these like different people,
Yeah, it's been very cool, because like, especially in my town, like everyone's pretty much from there. Like it's very small town vibes, like not a lot of stuff going on. So just being able to get thrown into this mix of like everyone from everywhere. I got friends who are like from different countries even, and like just getting to meet all these crazy ass people has been so fun. I'm friends with a lot of the artists here, but I also am friends with mostly people that aren't even in the arts, and just like, so I live with 2 engineers and a computer science guy. So just like having these completely different college experiences, and then being able to come home and just like talk about your day with someone who just did like a coding for 9 hours. Like it's so random, but it's so fun.
That is cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're a young artist, and with the world in your hands, and fucking so much going for you here.
Yeah, so.
It's fucking awesome, man. So in Venice, it's probably a beautiful day. What is it, Sunday night? What are you going out to do after this?
I think I'm gonna go to a little wine bar and bring my sketchbook, because we have a little like midterm critique for our drawing class. So I'm just gonna finalize a couple drawings that I've been working on over a glass of Chardonnay. Yeah.
Hell yeah,
I love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, we're coming up on an hour, so that's our time, I think. But thank you so much for talking with us. Before we wrap up...
This has been such a fun conversation.
Yeah, thank you. Before we wrap up, I just wanted to say, too, I know you had mentioned that you have a show coming up in Boston. Do you already have dates for that, or do you want to talk about that at all?
No, I do not. But if you follow along on my Instagram and everything, at Ryan C. Dempsey, and then my website's ryandempseyart.com, I post everything that comes my way, and so right when I have any specifics on that, that'll be right up there.
Awesome, yeah. And send it our way. We'll post it, too.
Okay, that'd be amazing. Thank you.
Yeah,
hell yeah, dude. We're really happy to add you to our catalog and collection of cool people that we've interviewed. So it's great meeting you. Great talking with you. Maybe we'll meet in person sometime.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I hope to see you in Boston.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Have a great night. Enjoy that Chardonnay.
Thank you, guys. Peace out.
Bye.
Boston Art Podcast is an independent DIY production by Brian Huntress and Theodora Earthworms. The information contained in this episode represents the views and opinions of the original creators or our guests, and does not represent any institution, organization, or business. Find us on Instagram at Boston Art Podcast, and tune in for a new episode every Friday. Thank you for listening.